Coming up on this week's programme, we're in New York with the Guardian Angels as they mark 40 years of keeping the city's subways safe.
There used to be so much graffiti in the trains you couldn't even see out the window. And naturally, always fights and stabbings and shootings and gang activity. The violence was off the hook.
Our global guru has some top tips for road tripping in Europe. Plus, we're behind the scenes at the world's largest open-air gallery in central Spain.
You don't realise until you get this close to it, the actual size and scale of what they're painting. It's enormous.
Hello and welcome to the Travel Show with me, Krista Loud, and this week we're kicking off by heading to New York City. Every year over 13 million people visit from all across the world. But back in the late 1970s, the city had a notorious crime record and wasn't quite so welcoming to overseas visitors.
But 40 years ago, the volunteer group, the Guardian Angels, tried to do something about it, and they're still going strong today.
In the late 70s, the subways were un miserable. It was just an attack on your senses first. The smell of urine, defecation. There would be graffiti everywhere, broken windows. The gangs would patrol up and down the trains, and they would control certain lines, and you would never see a cop. The Guardian Angels started, in fact, right here in the Bronx. And I was a night manager of Mickey D's McDonald's, and I just decided to organize my closing crew to ride this very same train. It used to be called the Muggers Express, the number 4 train. This was our baptism in fire. This was the epicenter of criminal and gang activity in the late 70s. Whereas the subways have improved measurably from what it was like when we first started. Now there are pervs out there, and they flash themselves to women. So we have a perv busters unit comprised of women, led by women who prioritize that. Because what we want to do is empower women to fight back.
Perv busters, it's catchy, it gets people to stop and notice, and it makes sense. Sexual assaults on the subway are on the rise, and they're very daring. They want to be on social media, they want to be out there. It's really nuts. So usually, sometimes on patrol, we go after 1 or 2 pervs a night.
We have 2 different events going on simultaneously.
We get a lot of photos and calls sent to us. We obviously have to make sure they're legitimate, and then that's when we put out the flyer and we go out to the location of, said incident and take it from there.
We're going to get off at 190th.
It's not taken seriously so much because they know our great state of New York is not enforcing sexual crimes. They know they're not going to get charged seriously. They're back and forth. It's a revolving door. The first significant moment was when I was 5 years old and my sister was 8. We were with our mom coming up the subway stairs at 183rd by the old Carvel there. We were on either side of our mom, and my mom was in the middle, and we were coming up the stairs. Halfway up these stairs right here is where a guy passed us. He grabbed my mother's purse and pulled her back down the stairs. It's like I can still remember me and my sister were screaming, and we were scared because something really bad happened to my mother. And even to this day, it just gets to me. That's all I remember is screaming, and my mother, thankfully, she wasn't really seriously injured. But something like that, if it affects me to this day, I can imagine how what they think is a simple crime as far as groping or flashing, that's with you for life. On any given day, we have roughly 500,000 people riding the subways. We want to make sure commuters are getting to and from safely, keeping anything from happening, obviously, preventing crime, as well as sexual assaults that are happening on the rise. We're looking out for everything. But if we're there and we see it, we stop it.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. The West Coast 7 train approaching Hunters Point Avenue.
Now what you see a lot of that you didn't see before, emotionally disturbed people, homeless people. Oftentimes the trains are not clean. So aesthetically it's bad, and it's not good for the emotionally disturbed or the homeless. But I would still accept what exists now compared to what used to be. There used to be so much graffiti in the trains you couldn't even see out the window. And naturally always fights and stabbings and shootings and gang activity. The violence was off the hook. So there's a big difference, but we got to keep it that way. You can't just assume it's going to stay that way. What's up, man? Hey,
We had people that were worried about you.
What's up?
Nothing much.
Are you cops?
No, we're just making sure everybody's okay.
Hey, you, big guy. You gonna stop me, huh? Who you staring and glaring at, huh? You're hiding behind women's
Just
skirts,
be careful, sir. Just
Come
be
on.
mindful of what's
Hey.
going on. Damn. Get involved. Right, sir? Calm down, or we'll put handcuffs on you.
Man, this is wrong.
Calm
I
down.
want my lawyer.
You'll get your
I'm
lawyer
gonna
when you
sue
get your
you.
chance.
I'm gonna
That's
sue
fine.
you. I'm telling you, man. I'm gonna
That's
sue
fine.
you.
That's
Where's
fine.
5-0? I need a cop. So I'm gonna go through two of you. I'm gonna get into your faces. Over the last 40 years, as the leader of the Guardian Angels and very active out on patrol, there have been a number of occasions where I put myself in harm's way.
Sit down. Sit down. Take it easy.
You ain't no damn cops. And in the beginning of the group was extraordinarily dangerous before we were recognized by the police. We had 6 Guardian Angels shot and killed in the line of duty, 36 injured, many of them still going through therapy for the injuries that they suffered long ago. Now we've gone through 3 generations of Guardian Angels, some of whom gone on to become police officers themselves. So the reception is positive, even though we remain independent and autonomous.
So the purpose of putting up the flyers, sometimes people don't want to take them, so we put them up as a public awareness thing so they could at least view it, and almost always they'll take screenshots. As long as it gets seen and talked about and people pass along the information, that's our main focus, and we're relentless. We'll keep at it.
Transfers to the G train.
For the last 4 years, we've been seeing a lot more, uprising in sexual crimes. We usually pass these out. It's an information flyer. It's because we do a patrol called Perv Busters, and it's in regards to a lot of the perverts on the train. And we usually pass out the card because not everybody wants to call the police. So we field the information, we put out flyers, and then we pass along the information to PD if necessary. We try to do our best.
This is the Queenstown G train. Next stop, 110 Washington Avenue. Ladies and gentlemen, please use the long door and step in and stay clear, please.
When we're in the Guardian Angel uniform, it's a big deal. We're noticed a lot because the red stands out to begin with. And we're definitely, we want people to see us. So if something's going on, it's for them to look for us, and feel a sense of safety. They've always told us that over the years. When they see us, they feel safe.
I just want to give a shout out to Curtis, man. I appreciate what he's done for New York City.
I am exuberant about the potential and the possibilities of the Guardian Angels in the future, not just the here and now. I believe in self-help, and I believe that one woman, one man can make a difference. And I think we've proven that over 40 years.
Well, do stay with us on the travel show because coming up,
Oh, there we go. Like that. Boom. Wow.
Paul joins the artists making a splash in central Spain.
It's quite addictive.
Yeah, I know, right?
so don't go away.
Hello again. It's high summer here in Europe, which means that many of you are planning road trips around the continent, and unfortunately, in the case of one viewer, picking up speeding tickets. But first, French Railways has tested a remote-controlled drone train that could lead to driverless passenger services. The train successfully travelled 4 kilometres through the suburbs of Paris. It's been called a fundamental step towards the train of tomorrow. Back here in the present, Mario Biocca from Montreal in Canada says,
I'm planning a road trip around Ireland, Scotland and England with a rental car, flying in and out of Dublin. What route would you recommend?
a rental car can be very helpful in Ireland and Scotland, where the traffic is relatively light and public transport is sparse. But the costs of taking a rental car across the Irish Sea, which divides those countries, can be very high. So rent one car in Ireland, return it, then take a ferry or fly across to Scotland. There's lots of choice. Rent another vehicle but drop it back and make your intercity travel in England by rail. Relatively fast and, with a bit of advanced planning, extremely good value. Sue Wilson was travelling northwest of Paris at what she thought was the legal speed limit of 80 kilometres an hour. But she says,
having been driving through Europe over the last 40 years, we, along with 3 friends, have all picked up speeding tickets for the first time ever from France. We pride ourselves at being speed conscious. Is there a reason for these tickets this year?
To help out with this, I've sought some specialist knowledge.
It's true. Over the past 10 years, the cooperation between the administrations in Europe are much better than they used to be. And wherever you come from, if you have a fine in France, they will fine you in your home country. And the second reason also is that the speed camera technology has improved a lot. Automatic cameras and average speed check all over France. And they are these days implementing a new generation of speed cameras, which also detects the safety belts, the phone behind the wheels, the safety distance between the vehicles, and also if you drive too fast when it's raining and when you're supposed to drive 10 kilometers per hour less.
Nadipat Instagrams from the Netherlands about a trip that she and her boyfriend are planning in the south of England.
We'll probably fly to London and are thinking about going southwest all the way to Cornwall. We might stop in a couple of places like Stonehenge. Is there anywhere else that you can recommend?
The Great West Way is a newly created route that's been described as England's Route 66. It leads west from London and takes in some splendid locations, including Windsor, stately homes in the Thames Valley and the county of Wiltshire, and ends in Bath and then Bristol. Diversions north to the Cotswolds and south to Stonehenge are easy. The route even has its own website, greatwestway.co.uk, with details of attractions and accommodation. From the western end you can make a magnificent journey along the north coast of Devon and Cornwall, visiting the ruined castle at Tintagel steeped in legend. You could follow the A30 road to its natural conclusion at Land's End, but I think coastal towns such as St Ives and Foy are more rewarding. Wherever you're heading, I'm here to help. Send in your questions and I'll do my very best to bring you the answers. From me, Simon Calder, the Global Guru, bye for now and see you next time.
To finish off this week, we're heading to Spain, and to a province known as Ciudad Real, which is around 2 hours drive south of Madrid. It's a region that's part of what's known as empty Spain, because so many young people have moved away to bigger cities and towns in search of work. But now there's a big new public art project that's seeking to draw some of these people back and also bond together the communities they left behind, as Paul Carter found out.
Made famous by Cervantes' literary descriptions of Don Quixote's travels through La Mancha, much of the landscape remains unbuilt on, with rural towns and villages dotted throughout, along with these iconic windmills. But now, this has happened. Artists have been transforming the landscape, helped by locals with learning difficulties. And the results are spectacular. These giant warehouses were built to hold grain. So far, 7 silos across the Ciudad Real province have been painted. And I'm travelling to Porthuna to help out with another. It's not hard to find.
You don't realise until you get this close to it the actual size and scale of what they're painting. It's enormous.
The artist, Nichos, has been flown in with his team from the US, with just a week to paint the whole silo. Meanwhile, at the base, I'm starting with the basics.
I haven't painted anything since I was a kid, and that was colouring books, and I wasn't really any good at staying in the lines then either. I'm more Dick Van Dyke than Vincent van Gogh though, to be honest.
These volunteers are from La Borvallia, a local organisation set up to help people of different abilities feel part of the community. This major project, called I Am Totanes, was their idea.
Y principalmente el objetivo de la Borvalía es eso, mejorar la calidad de la vida de las personas con discapacidad intelectual, enfermedad mental, autismo, discapacidad física, todo aquel que quiera participar y formar parte de esta gran familia que es la Borvalía.
And with this project, have you noticed a benefit and have you noticed a change in the volunteers and the people that you're working with?
Sí, la verdad que las familias bastante contentas, sobre todo porque sus hijos ya tienen aspiraciones, tienen metas de futuro, quieren más. Padres que te comentan que sus hijos no salían de su casa y ahora gente que dice que por qué se tiene que quedar, que tiene un mundo por explorar. Ya quieren experiencias de vida, quieren pintar con compañeros, conocer gente nueva, sobre todo aprender, ganas de trabajar, de realizarse como personas.
This part of the country is known as Empty Spain, with rural towns like these slowly losing people to the bigger cities and failing to attract new visitors. Only 10% of the population live across 70% of the land. That's barely 14 inhabitants per square kilometre. Nichos is a world-renowned urban artist who, along with 9 others, is bringing life back to these buildings and the communities around them.
I'm very impressed by your filling job. I just got some rojo noche, so we put the drawing on top, and me and Eric are gonna help you guys doing that. There you go.
Looks like it's my turn.
You think you can get a gradient?
A gradient? Wow,
yeah,
okay. Let's give it a go. How do we do that? So is that when you
can like spray upwards?
Come from the bottom?
Yes. Oh, there we go.
Like that? Cool. Wow.
Dude, I can't teach you anything.
It's quite addictive.
Yeah, I know, right? Since you know now that you're born to spray, you know. For me, it was like I painted my first piece, and I just never stopped.
In terms of this kind of project and working with the people that we've got here, have you ever done anything like this before?
Well, not in that extent, I have to say. Like, I didn't expect that they were like that into it and they have such a huge understanding. I'm so happy, you know, because I feel like we should like integrate art way more in everyone's life. I feel like in so many ways people think, okay, art is only for the rich and you have to go to the museum and see some art, but like everyone can do it. And I believe that everyone is inside somewhere an artist.
It's hoped that the work of these international artists will attract their fans and others to the region. And on hand to show you around,
nice to meet you,
are the volunteers who help paint them.
So this one is here where we are now, okay.
Both Juan Carlos and Stephanie have learning difficulties, but with some coaxing, they were able to help me understand the paintings, having been a part of their creation themselves.
Esta pared y esta pared también.
Imágenes de Almodóvar y las películas de Almodóvar, todo esas cosas.
It's hoped that with time, more volunteers will get involved to improve their confidence and social skills. The project was funded by the government of the region, and the plan is that the silos will leave a legacy beyond just being painted buildings. This one by the artist Akuda is being used to host a film festival. Coordinating and curating this massive project across almost 20,000 square kilometres are Ink and Movement, responsible for bringing these big-name artists together. But these artworks aren't universally popular across the region.
Well, that's the thing with public art. You don't have to go and find it, it finds you. And of course, you can like it or you can dislike it. But anyway, I think even though some people might not like it, it takes us to debate about something. It can be just as simple as I don't like the colors or I don't like the shape of this figure. You know, but at least they're debating about art.
The last 2 silos are due to be completed by the end of October. But running and cycling routes around the whole project are already in place.
What struck me in my time here, being around these silos and these artworks, is the power they have. They get people talking, and perhaps more importantly, they bring communities together and they give people a voice. We live in an Instagram generation, and if people are hoping to get young people out of the big cities and into more rural areas like this one, you need to do something big. And ultimately, you don't get much more social media friendly than something like this.
Paul getting in touch with his inner artist there in Spain in what looks like a truly amazing project. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's show, but coming up next week,
we're focusing on the UK.
Archer ready. Draw. Hold. Loose.
And I'll be in Northern Ireland finding out how people, travellers and even some four-legged friends are experiencing new opportunities thanks to a global television phenomenon.
it's amazing as we walk through here how many people are wearing the big capes for Game of Thrones. Clearly here because Game of Thrones was filmed here. So few people would probably have seen it if it weren't for that series. Join us then if you can, and in the meantime don't forget to sign up to our social media feeds where you can join us on the road and share your travel stories with the rest of the world. Until next time, from me, Krista Larwood, and the rest of the Travel Show team, it's goodbye.